Welcome to Salcedo Paranormal. It is Monday, February 27th, 2023, and today I'm covering paranormal news. As always, you can find all the episodes of the show, along with links to social media and other ways to contact me at the podcast page, and that is salcedoparanormal.podbean.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.podbean.com. Always happy to hear from you all, whether you have comments or questions or topic suggestions or stories of paranormal experiences, whether they're your own or from others that you trust. Happy to either read those or have you join me on the show to talk about them. And so the plans for the rest of this week is paranormal news today, and then Wednesday, another true paranormal stories from the web tomorrow. And on Thursday morning, Wednesday night, Thursday morning, I will be reviewing another Stephen King book. And I figured out sort of the plans for the Thursday shows for a while, Wednesday night, Thursday morning shows for a while. I'm going to alternate between covering different figures and mythology from around the world and talking about the paranormal aspects of those figures and their stories, and so doing that whole thing. And then and besides that, I'm going to start reviewing the short story collections of Stephen King, because he has several, and so I think it'll be fun to go over all these stories, and it'll be easy to go over a few per show, a few at a time per show, and talk about the paranormal aspects. So I'll be getting the first of the audiobooks I need later on today, basically, and starting to listen to those, and I'm looking forward to that. That should be a lot of fun. There's a lot of those stories I've already read. There's a lot I haven't, and so it should be, I think it'll be a good mix of sort of ancient or older stories with newer stories. Of course, relatively speaking. But so yeah, that'll be the usual plans for the Thursday shows, and that's not counting, of course, the monthly roundtable shows or any other special guest-based shows that I do on those days. But just an idea of, just to give you an idea of what's coming in the future for that. So I think with that, I can get to the stories here and these articles. I've shared all the articles I have set aside for the show in the chat. I will get through as many of them as I can in this show. And then whatever I don't get to, I will save for next time, as I did last time. So, and of course, I will include the links to the stories that I use in this show on the podcast and YouTube feed episode descriptions. So, this first article is talking about a place that I think a lot of people that are into the paranormal will recognize once I say the name here. This is from WOKQ.com, and this says, the title is, "One of the most haunted places in the world is in New England." And so what they're talking about here is the I forget what it was. The Lizzie Borden house. That's what it was. Just literally slipped my mind. And this, of course, is in Fall River, Massachusetts. And says that according to Travel and Leisure, their poll that they did, or their list that they made of haunted places around the world, it says this allegedly haunted bed and breakfast is the site of a gruesome and highly publicized murder. It says, although she was eventually acquitted, Lizzie Borden was suspected of killing her father and stepmother with a hatchet in the unassuming home in 1892. And since then, guests have reported all kinds of strange sightings in the house. And it mentions there are ghost tours and then overnight stays as well if you want to check that out. But this case has always been this case of this house, not even necessarily the case itself of the murder, but I've seen a lot of and heard a lot of stories about people that visited there, and of course, there's always the sort of energy that is left by the people that go there, that either due to what they've heard or through TV or through whoever was doing the tours at the time, they have this idea of that they basically know what happened. And so they will ask questions in some cases and that lead to a certain direction. And yeah, as the article says itself right there, apparently Lizzie was acquitted. So it's really makes me wonder, and I don't know all the details to that story in terms of how that went, if it was likely or not likely that she actually did it. I don't know enough of that case, the details there, to say whether that trial went as maybe it should have or shouldn't have. I don't know, but I think that part of the danger with these kind of places is people going in there and sort of, as always, people that in some cases will go in there and be disrespectful, thinking that they know how things went, and then when things happen that frighten them, then they just assume it's because whoever or whatever is there is evil, and I think that's a dangerous trap to sort of fall into, or pattern to fall into. But yes, there we are. That's funny. I was thinking of you, Derek, as I was reading that article there. But Derek mentions that it's on the edge of the Bridgewater Triangle too. Yeah. And yeah, I think it's one of those places. I think possibly similar to. I wonder if it's similar to any of those other places that we talk about sometimes, where it's famous for being haunted. And I'm thinking of course, the Myrtles Plantation here, where if you look into the history of the place, it doesn't quite match up with the ghost stories, and at least according to some people. And I wonder how much of whatever is going on there, and then of course at this Lizzie Borden house, I wonder how much of that activity there is based on the energy that people leave there or generate there when they go there, again, sort of having a narrative in mind beforehand. And when maybe I think a lot of times the thing that you might want to do, just to be sort of fair to whoever or whatever is there, as well as the people that own the place, is just, again, it all comes down to being respectful and kind, and just asking questions, but try to make them neutral or fair, or not. Don't lead the conversation in a certain way if you can help it. Again, I'm no famous investigator, so I don't do this all the time, but I've listened to plenty of shows, and yeah, I have a lot to. I think I've talked about it before already a lot, so I won't go any further than I think what I've just said. I think I've gone over everything I wanted to talk about there. And really, there's not a lot more in the article about that place. It does go over some other haunted places. But I just wanted to bring that up because that's a place I've heard of where other investigators I've heard talk about it say that there have been things done there by other investigators that maybe weren't so ethical in some cases. So that's the first article I wanted to cover for today. Let me get to the next one here. Thank you all for being here also. Yeah, the town is called Fall River too, synchronistically. Yeah. But yeah, thank you all for being here to listen, as always. And whether you're listening live or you listen to the podcast or YouTube feeds, I never expect anyone to be here, honestly, because of the time that I do the streams, and just because everyone has their own things to do. So I always appreciate anyone that is able to listen live at any time. So, going on to the next article here. Let's see here. Close that. Okay. All these articles somehow fell into this category of sort of people having experiences and looking for experiences in places. So I thought that was kind of funny here. This next article is from GazetteExtra.com, and the title of this one is Haunted Hunting. Team investigates unexplained sights, sounds at Janesville's Lincoln Tallman house. And I checked on this because I had no idea where that was. Apparently it's in Wisconsin, I believe it was. And also check out these articles because they all have pictures of places. In a lot of cases, they have pictures of the places they're talking about. This one here has several pictures. So this house apparently was the home of a prominent family, it says, in the 1850s. A group of local paranormal investigators that visited the place recently think they may have never left. So this group is called Haunted US, and while they were there investigating, they reported the sounds of piano music, and then saw shadows peeking over ledges and heard footsteps going up and down stairs. So it sounds like the place is active. This goes into a lot of the history of the place. It's a good size article here. It says it was built in 1855 by William Tallman, who was a lawyer and abolitionist from New York. And and this was actually his second home that he had. And apparently, because of his being an abolitionist, if I can talk, he has ties to the Underground Railroad. Part of the reason for the name of the house is, of course, that Abraham Lincoln visited in October of 1859, the year before he became president, it says. And the story goes, according to this article, that he was giving a speech and nearby, and of course William Tallman, the owner of the house, begged him to give the speech in Janesville, in this town where this house is, and then also invited him to spend the night. So, it says years later, the last remaining member of the Tallman family donated the house to the city of Janesville. That was in 1950, on the condition that it be operated as a museum. And I always love when they're able to do that, when these places, as long as they're maintained, when they're given to sort of local groups or government groups or that are historical societies that can sort of help run them and maintain them. And speaking of that, it says the house is now run by the Rock County Historical Society and located on the Historical Society's campus. I wonder if that means it was moved. I always wonder how that goes. If when a place is moved, does energy, do spirits, if they're sentient, do they go with the house when it's moved? Or do they just visit? I always wonder what the rules are with that. Of course, it's possible to know. The investigators said that um, they their findings suggested that there was a woman in white that is believed to have been the Tallman's daughter, and she's been seen, says, near what was her room, the Tallman's daughter's room. There's also been shadows seen in doorways. Wafts of perfume have been reported, which the investigators said may be tied to the Tallman family's being involved in the perfume business. Now, the Rock County Historical Society staff say they think that the sound of the piano being played when no one is around is the same daughter named, I'm not sure if this is a real name or a nickname, Gussie, who was a piano player and actually played for Lincoln when he was there. Mentions that down in the basement there have been reports of a grumpy man who doesn't like it when people crowd the canning room. And different historical society staff there suggest that the man may have been someone that guarded a room where escaped slaves hid. So, the investigators also say that odd footsteps and sounds have also been reported in the servants' quarters and throughout the house. So there's a lot more here. It goes into the investigation, but I think I'll leave you all with that, and you all can check out the rest of this article on your own. There's a lot more there. So a lot of these articles today are good size. So that sounds like it's pretty active. So yeah, I love finding all these places just all around the world and the country, and just it seems like there are places like this that have reports of activity pretty much just everywhere. I mean, almost everywhere. Anywhere that there is any kind of human presence over time. It seems like the entire world has a potential for having paranormal activity. I don't like saying haunted necessarily, because that's very much been given a negative meaning to it. But I do think there's activity almost everywhere at one time or another. So let's see here. This next article is from vicksburgpost.com, and this title of this article says, "Spirits of the Siege, Ghosts Haunting Vicksburg Long After Battle Ends." So, let's see here. Gotta scroll past some pictures here. This is actually about a ghost tour that is led by one of the people that they talk about in this article here. So let's see here. I may have missed some text, maybe not. But there are, let's see here. Yeah, there's a tour guide here that talks about, that basically shares a lot of the stories. And they're stories of basically, let's see here, footsteps all around. There's a statue of Ulysses S. Grant in Vicksburg National Military Park. It says that according to legend, the general and the horse leave their pedestal at night to ride along the lines at the park. So I always wonder what's behind those kind of legends. If there is some kind of apparition that shows up that does that. But let's see here. So Here we go. This is where I was wanting to get to. There is a person by the name of Gates who operates a seasonal ghost tour business called Haunted Vicksburg. And these are booked through hauntedvicksburg.com, and they take people around the city as he talks about the paranormal experiences people have had there. And he mentions that he's not I love this because he mentions that he's not a ghost hunter. He just collects stories, which is sort of what I like to do. I mean, I'd love to be able to go out there and investigate places all the time, but still, if I can't do that easily, then this is what I like to do here, is just collect the stories. So, mentions that the place has been around for many years. It says over the course of 2 centuries. It says that let's see here. It says according to Gates, most old towns do have something to it. I guess to them. I guess they mean in terms of the paranormal activity. And I didn't even look up to see where this is at, what state this is in. I'm terrible with remembering days. But of course, they mentioned the siege that they're talking about is took place in this campaign to capture the city during the Civil War, and the 47-day siege that finally did manage to capture the city at that point. So it mentions the number of soldiers that passed there, but people are reported hearing loud footsteps behind them, like a group of people approaching. And there are other stories about statues of figures that appear to bleed from their eyes. But of course, one thing this article points out, and I never thought of this before, is the possibility of that being some kind of a rust happening in there. I don't know how that works. The other thing that people say that they've seen there is the roads will glow at night. That has to be amazing to see that. Let's see here. They talk about someone named Bess here, who is the executive director of the Friends of the Vicksburg National Military Park and Campaign. Said that locals have told stories of things they witnessed over the decades, and so the park says the park is now closed to public after dark. I'm wondering if that's a safety thing, but let's see here. Okay, so apparently, one of the stories is that if you pulled in front of the Pennsylvania Monument at night, and your headlights hit the faces that were on the. This is where that legend comes from. If your lights hit the statues on that monument, the faces, they'd appear to be crying blood. But again, they mention here that part of the possible explanation for that is just rust. I'm really wondering about that. But anyway, so they go into more detail about some of the other stories here and history. But so definitely check out that article for the rest of that and go from there. And so yeah, let me see here how we're doing for time. And actually, we are just about out of time. So thank you all for listening and for being here. And I will save the rest of these stories and include them in the next news show. I'll be back tomorrow with true paranormal stories from the web on the next episode of Salcedo Paranormal. Take care, everyone.